What I do, YouTube? Hefe coming to you, Captain Awesome's Fish Room. Jeff Chrome's Brovi bringing y'all in the tank with Captain Awesome. So get ready for it. It's a longer video. We're going to go over to the Planet Tank and take a look at that as to why I do some of the things that I do in it. So take a look at this awesomeness and we will be right back. Okay, so here is the 50 long subscriber planted tank. You're going to see a reflection. The lights are really bright, and I haven't built kind of like a little canopy type thing to keep that light over there, if that makes sense, instead of shining across the whole room. The tank looks foggy because it's full of CO2 bubbles. Okay, so you can see that the plants are purling. You can see the bubble, the occasional bubble pop up out of there. The plants are still getting settled in. I did just plant this thing this week, I want to say. Been kind of hectic, still hunting a job, and it's really starting to be tough. Really stressful. But everything's doing well in here. I almost have it all dialed in to exactly where I want it and to exactly where it should be. I'm still waiting on a few plants. One of them I am going to keep a surprise because a lot of people won't be expecting it, but a lot of you also know that I will be carpeting HC like immensely in here. I have some more down oil on the way. Some more Pogostemon Helferi. I have that on the way from my buddy Katie. Just purchased some more from her, so I'll be able to fill up what I want to with that instead of having to wait to grow it in. The valve is actually already starting to run. It's already starting to produce runners in both corners actually. And the SP Japan right there, the little clover looking stuff, that is actually, it's starting to take off. And the Hygrophila and Ludwigia there in the back is doing exceptionally well. The colors on it are just phenomenal. And the S. Rippens over there, the Storagene Rippens, I can't ever say the first word of it, but the Rippens right over here, it's doing well. There's some new leaves on it, and it's starting to come around. So here shortly, I should be able to trim that and get this little corner going with some S. Rippens. I do have some shrimp in here. They're just the ghost shrimp or glass shrimp, whatever you want to call them. I also have assassin snails in here, and I have my last remaining clown pleco in here. Now the clown pleco unfortunately does not come out during the day just yet, but hopefully soon that'll change. So we'll start with the substrate. If you didn't see my other videos, going over the substrate as I was putting it in there and talking about it, this is a layered substrate, as I like to call it. Okay, there's several different layers that go into this substrate. The first layer, of course, is the lighting diffuser or egg crate. You can see that down there in the sump. It's running the entire length and width of this aquarium. Okay, it's a 50-gallon long aquarium, and it's running the entire length. Then I have DIY root tabs with Osmocote Plus and a few other ingredients that I like to put in them. I have those at the very bottom, strategically placed and equally apart inside of the egg crate. On top of that, I have a sand layer. It's Quickcrete all-purpose sand. You can see the pleco just kicked up some dirt back. That's his hiding place back there. See if we can get a shot of him. Probably not. But on top of that, I have Peabody's Paradise cold nitrogen source dirt. It's a dirt that he formulates himself with rabbit manure, which is a cold nitrate source. And if you don't know about that, just type in cold nitrate inside soils, and it'll give you a way better explanation than I can on Google. That coupled with the mineral mix that Peabody's Paradise produces. So I took a bag of dirt and I took his mineral mix and I mixed that together and that is the next layer on top of the sand inside of this tank. On top of that, I took a 20-pound bag of Eco-Complete and a 20-pound bag of Kahuna soil. Both of those are made by Caribsea. I mixed those together, and that is the next layer. Okay, now the top layer is Kahuna soil by itself. Okay, that's all that white stuff you can see in there. Now some of the Eco-Complete did actually make it up to the surface, which you can see right there, which isn't a big deal. I don't mind that at all. You know, it's essentially all the top layer of the substrate anyway. Okay, now in doing a layered substrate, what you do is you actually form a substrate that'll hold nutrients better, in my opinion. Okay, now the top of your substrate, being the Eco-Complete and the Kahuna soil in my situation, is a nutrient-rich substrate. So the shallower rooting plants, like your carpeting plants like HC, you know, the SP Japan, I believe the Blixa japonica isn't that deep of a rooter, the Downoi, and you know, a few other plants that I will have in here, those will actually get nutrients from the Eco-Complete and Kahuna soil. And as far as the Kahuna soil, I haven't seen anybody using that inside of their planted tanks. It is a pond plant substrate, so I don't know if anybody else has used it inside of aquariums. It is aquarium safe. It's fish safe and, you know, all that fun stuff, but it has a better nutrient label than the Eco-Complete, in my opinion. Now the deeper rooting plants, like the swords that I have in here and a few other plants that I will have in here, those are actually going to reach down and get into that dirt layer, okay, because they're a very deep rooting plant, and that's where those root tabs are going to take place. That's where the dirt and the cold nitrogen source and that mineral mix is actually really going to do a good justice. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why would you put it across the whole tank? Well, that reason is simple, okay? I put it across the whole tank because when the nutrients aren't being used up by a deep rooting plant, the nutrients will actually, you know, slowly release into the rest of the substrate, allowing the plants to still utilize that substrate or that layer of substrate. So I think layered substrates are very important. You can have a beautifully planted tank without a layered substrate, but I've always layered in the past, and the reason I do that is because in nature, where we pull these plants, the substrates are layered. It's not just one kind of substrate out there. You know, there's you know, detritus, leaf litter, there's sand, soil, dirt, mineral layer, all that stuff out there. And in my opinion, plants have always grown better for me with a layered substrate, or a substrate that, you know, has some kind of mineral layer at the bottom and then your actual planting medium on top of that. So that's why I do a layered substrate. You know, once this tank fills in and the plants start, you know, actually rooting and, you know, getting situated and comfortable inside of the tank, you'll definitely see a difference. You know, you'll see deeper reds, deeper purples, deeper yellows, deeper greens, brighter greens. You'll see all that stuff. Like here with the Downoi, it's already starting to perk up. You can see that it does look kind of, you know, blah blah, but I don't know if you can see the tips, but they're turning really green, and it's actually starting to pearl a little bit. And purling, guys, is the plants releasing oxygen during photosynthesis, okay? When a plant is photosynthesizing, it's taking in carbon dioxide and other nutrients and releasing oxygen, okay? Now at night, the actual reverse happens. Plants will actually take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. That's why we turn off our CO2 units at night. Because the plants, for one, can't use the CO2. Two, it'd be wasting your CO2. And three, you'd probably gas your fish, because not only are your fish excelling carbon dioxide, are exhaling carbon dioxide rather, but your plants are exhaling carbon dioxide on top of that, so you'd probably end up you know, gassing your fish in that effect. So that's the tank. Now the actual hardscape in here is Dragonstone from ADU Aquascaping. A lot of y'all know him as Dave Guitarfish. An awesome hobbyist in my opinion. Definitely has beautiful planted tanks, and you know, this Dragonstone that he's selling inside the hobby right now is just gorgeous to me. Lots of character, lots of, you know, just interesting curves and interesting shapes. Like this piece right here is just especially beautiful to me. But you know, that's what's going on inside of the tank right now. You know, I have a few plants coming to me, and so y'all have to stay tuned for that. Y'all know about the HC. I'm going to have a really big carpet of HC in here, so you know, wait for that. And you know, the method is to growing it changes by hobbyist. I'll show you my method. It's not the only method, it's not the best method, it's the best method for me. So up in this corner here you can see my drop checker to let me know that I have you know, a good amount of CO2 in the water column. And as you can see, it's not as green as it could be here, so I'm still dialing in my CO2 unit to essentially you know, put the amount of CO2 that I need inside of the water there. So we're still working on that. Now with that said, we'll go down to the CO2 unit itself, which is right here. It's a Milwaukee regulator, all Milwaukee parts here, bubble counter, all that fun stuff. Just your common CO2 tank here. I believe it's a 5-pound or maybe a 10-pound. Let me see. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to waste y'all's time looking for it. It's 5 or 10 pounds, 3 gallons. But that's the regulator. Now, as far as the regulator goes, I do have a surprise coming from one of my good buddies in the community, Aquatic Support Systems. I do have a surprise coming from him, so stay tuned for that. But as you can see here, my bubble count, I have it running at about, it's just under 2.5 bubbles per second. Now you might say, wow, that's a lot of CO2 you have pumping in there, but guys, this is a really long tank, so the CO2 disbursement inside of this aquarium, I mean, as you can see from the drop checker over there, it's not quite where it needs to be, so I might end up at 2.5 to 3 bubbles per second to get this tank rocking the way it should be. So I have CO2 resistant tubing here. That's important because with airline tubing, I believe you lose so much CO2 per foot of airline tubing because CO2 can actually leach out of that tubing. And then it goes around here through a metal check valve. That's important too because you don't want to back siphon and ruin your regulator. Through a glass U-tube into more CO2 resistant tubing into a Greenleaf Aquaria atomizer. Okay, so it puts really fine bubbles into the water column, and then it's right below the spray bar, so they get dissolved at a rate of probably, I'd say, around 85 to 90%. I had this inline check valve, but it wasn't what was stated when I bought it. This isn't 3/4 inside diameter right here. This is actually smaller. And then going down into the sump, you can see that I have a lot of plants in there. These actually pearl as well, guys. I have that subwasser tang. I'm actually sending some of that out to a friend of mine, so stay tuned. And then, of course, you know, I've already went over the sump. You know, it's hard plumbed through the drain there. And then it goes through the biological media. This tank is fully cycled. You know, I don't know how else to explain that, but it's fully cycled, goes through there, goes through the sponge into the refugium area that's not even set up yet, and then through the pump back up into the tank. So that's an explanation of what's going on inside this tank. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Be sure to go to Aquatic Support Systems on Facebook and like that page. A lot of big things happening this year, guys, so make sure you do that. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all are thinking. This is what I'm doing. This is what I've done. And we'll see y'all next time.